When people speak in hyperbole, it could have long reaching consequences that could be quite damaging to society as a whole. Well, the thought that black men are being hunted down by police, and that's something that the majority of black men in America need to sit and watch out for with their lives, and as if that's like some large cause of deaths in America. That's hyperbole by
Right.
far. So there was a national campaign that took place regarding this. Look at black people. We're quick to jump on Scott Adams as if he's done something that's just like, oh my God. When look what you just did with BLM.
Yeah.
That
Well,
entire campaign was a hyperbole. Thanks for having me on, Charles. I know it may sound provocative, but I think that Scott Adams he breached a conversation that needed to be had. In my opinion, a lot of the things that he stated are not too far off from conversations that Professor Glenn Loury and John McWhorter have had over at the Glenn Show for years. Just a couple of weeks ago, Glenn Loury was stating how there's that he feels that there's going to come a time where a lot of white people are getting tired of not having the ability to reply, not having a voice in society, and constantly having people to continuously demonize them in a variety of ways. And so though people can nitpick at the method in which Mr. Adams took his approach, to say that the conversation is not something that's needed, that's necessary, that has been brewing ever since the Ferguson situation. I, I think that that would be a silly thought to have. And to a certain extent, a lot of the places within mainstream black media, the places that where the layman conversation of, hey, are black people doing some things that are racist in America? I don't see how anyone could dance around that conversation. I'm open to hear your thoughts on it.
So if I'll put it like this: is Glenn Loury wrong about his statement? No, I don't think he's wrong, and I think it's happening. I think there are some white people who are more so politically active because, let's face it, like most people aren't in a position where they're needing to comment on race or needing to even talk about race. They just live their lives, they go to work, come home, and do their own thing. But I think there are going to be some people, and we're seeing that today, where they are taking more of a defense. They might be someone who is more aware of the media than other people are. And so they're noticing certain things. And I think much of that is purposeful, as talked about it earlier, that the goal was to make white people racially aware. And that's what's happening. They're more racially aware, not completely, but they're more racially aware than they were prior. And I think that's the goal of leftists. But as far as how come like Glenn Loury can say certain things, but Scott Adams say the same thing. Well, actually, it is everything is about delivery. Everything is about how you say it. There are certain things that I talk about, let's say in my book, that other people have said because, but they get into more shit than me because of how I said it and where I'm coming from and what do I establish from it. But when you speak hyperbolically, like you have no control over how people interpret things. And when Scott expects people to listen to his Hotep Jesus interview to get the full details of what he's trying to say, then you're setting yourself up for people to misinterpret what you mean. If I'm to extend good faith into Scott Adams.
I could accept that at face value. Nevertheless, to enter that into the conversation and to say, "Hey, the delivery matters."
Mhm.
That's fair. But then, wouldn't it be contingent upon black people as well to hold that same standard to their media outlets as well? I mean, when we have someone like a Issa Rae who goes in front of an award show and said, and when questioned, "Hey, who are you rooting for tonight? Everyone black?" I mean, if you reverse that, that would be, you said that would look like a hyperbolic racist white person, right? But then on the opposite end, it's just being let go as if that's nothing. And so, how can you hold a standard out to other people, but then don't hold your own to that same standard?
So we'll make up a scenario. If someone was to ask that same question, but instead of saying everyone white, they said, "Oh, all the Italians." No one would say, "Oh, this person hates black people. This person hates Mexicans." No one would say that. They would see that their lineage is with Italians, and I think that there are situations where stuff like that has happened. Or I support Jewish businesses. I support these businesses because I am whatever that is. And there is a culture context when it comes to being black that you can say is, I don't want to say similar, but just how people perceive it. I think there is a cultural context for a lot of Black Americans where they perceive black is the national image, much like someone was to say I'm Italian or Polish. So I think there are ways that white people can say these things. They just don't say white. They say it in different ways. But like I said before, most white people don't initially see themselves as white. They see themselves with a foreign nation. They align themselves in other ways. Being white is something that they accept when pressed on it. So if you put them in that position, obviously they're going to say, "Yeah, I'm white." Why? Because you're attacking me. Or you're saying that I can't speak because I'm white. So now they're aware that they're part of this group association. But if a regular person is just moving about their life and someone was to walk up to them and say, like, "Oh, you have brown hair. Where are you from?" "Oh, my family's Italian." First thing, I've been around white people my entire life. I've lived in 5 states. That's what they all do. They always associate with not being white, but with something else. And you can see that in polling data that talks about this as well.
I would say it's a interesting concept. I think, yeah, I think that there are a lot of racial epithets that come out of Black America that go
Yeah,
unchecked,
for sure.
and uh, to demand that other people treat you with a modicum of respect while still using that style of language, I think that's a silly request.
Let me quickly respond to SKC. I really love his points. So this will be my response to you, right? I agree with you. It seems as if white people don't have a voice to say certain things, right? It seems as if black people can say certain things and get away with it. In fact, I don't know if you know this guy, Patrice O'Neill. He was a black comedian who said, one of the things that black people got out of slavery is language, right? I mean, as a black man, I can sit here and say cracker all day, and all the white people are going to do, but you can't say racial shit back to me, right? So, in a way, I can understand how it got to the point where black people can say certain things and white people can't say it in return, right? So I think that instead of saying black people can do this thing which is not so good, so white people should be able to do it also, why don't everybody stop doing that thing? I mean, why? I mean, literally, that's what this channel is all about. I mean, most of my conversations was pointing out the sort of things that I see in the black community. These things are wrong. We need to change them and calling them out. So I don't think an appropriate response would now be to say, because black people are doing this thing, which is distasteful, white people should have to do it as well. I think the direction to go, the way to go should be, well, let's curb that thing that black people are doing that you're not so comfortable with. And also let white people, let them be bold enough to call out the double standards as it's happening. Call it out. If a black person is doing something to you and you feel is being discriminatory, you think the person is being racist, you should call it out at that point in time, not wait to later on and then say, I don't have a voice, I can't say anything, right? Call it out. I think if more white people begin to call out those individual cases, then it will become normal. But for you to not say anything at that point in time and then go back and complain that we don't have a voice, I think it's not a good strategy.